I'm Jeff Balke, Mike Stanton, my co-host here, as always. And this is episode 144. If you're keeping track at home, I know people like to keep their scorecards going. It's been an interesting week in
I
the
guess
AL
you have
West.
that written down somewhere.
What's that? The
What?
number?
What? Yes. I
I
mean,
do actually. If you're listening to the podcast, it will show the episode
oh,
number
okay.
on it. Yes,
So
that is
here's a
correct.
question: if you have
hmm
it written down, when did I take over for Blummer?
That is an outstanding question. I will have to
I want to
go back
say
and
it was
look.
somewhere around 100. I
Yeah, it was
think.
right around 100.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe 102, I want
Yeah.
to say,
Somewhere in
something
there.
like that. Yeah, it was
Okay.
right around that time. So we're almost 50 episodes deep, which is excellent. It has been a fascinating week for the AL West. And I say the AL West, not just the Astros, because as we were just saying to one another before we got on there, it's a race to see who can lose the most. And because the Mariners are not playing well, the Rangers aren't playing well, and certainly the Astros are not. Are I mean, it's been a while since I've seen the Astros have three shutouts in four games
Yeah.
of just destroyed,
And
really.
listen, and pretty epic manner
Yes.
also. I mean,
Oh yeah, just crushed.
almost a perfect game. And an infield hit that was a questionable play, even
Correct.
as a base hit. Um, and what makes it even worse, what compounds it even worse, is the pitching staff really isn't throwing up a whole lot of zeros
No.
either. They're giving up some runs, and so the formula that has been working for the Astros the whole season, which is scratch a couple runs across and then
hmm
just pitch your rear ends off. Well, it's kind of hit a little snag here lately.
It has. I will say I was at that game on Friday night, the
Hmm.
near perfect game. Um, the crowd was not interested in the baseball game at all because it was terrible pretty much the whole
Right.
way. Uh, but there was a moment of joyous celebration when they got the infield hit and they broke up the perfect game.
Right.
Now, we'll say this. I had real mixed feelings about that moment because on one hand, I didn't want the Astros to become a victim of a perfect game, but on the other
Sure.
hand, that's only happened 24 times in the history of baseball, and I have not been present for any of them. So it would have been cool to say I was at a perfect game. So there were
Yeah.
some mixed feelings about that.
Yeah, and that's one of those things as a baseball fan, baseball history, that
hmm
kind of stuff. I was able to see a perfect game. I think it was David Wells.
Yeah, I was going to say you
Um,
must have been Wells, right?
yeah, yeah.
You were there for that,
And then I think a year later, David Cohn threw. I want to say it was a no hitter. I don't think his
yeah.
was a perfect game.
No, it wasn't.
But yeah, so I was there for a perfect game, and
Pretty
yeah, it's
cool.
it's it's pretty incredible, especially when it's for your team. But it is still
Yeah.
baseball history. But you're right. You don't ever want to be part of the team. You don't want to be part of a no hitter. You don't want to be part of someone else making history against you.
Right.
Um, but and the question is, I can't remember who the starter was. I know he at the end of the game he still had like a 5.5 ERA. It was
Oh
his
no,
first
he
career
was.
win.
Yeah, no, he had only pitched in 10 games. He was 0 and
Yeah,
6 with a 6.6 ERA.
yeah.
Yeah, this was not like he's a
S-
young kid.
So here's the thing. Is that surprising? Of course, it's surprising anybody throws a no hitter or a perfect game. Is
Right.
it surprising that the Astros struggled against him? No, it's not.
Right. You've talked
Because,
about this.
yes, because big league hitters, especially veteran big league hitters, do not like to take at bats, have a starting pitcher against them that they have no track record
Right.
against. And you can watch all the film and all the AI and all the VR and all that you want. It's still just not the same as facing
Right.
the dude on the field. And I've always said, if a young guy, especially a young guy that's got pretty good stuff, if he can throw strikes and get ahead in the count, just like any pitcher, but if
hmm
he can have a really good day. And we've seen it countless times. You'd much rather have a guy, they're going to be facing Screwball tonight. I don't know if you want to face that guy, but
Absolutely not.
you'd
Although you do
much.
have Hunter Brown on the. If you're going to
Yeah,
face him with
this
anybody,
this
Hunter
is one of
Brown's the
those
guy.
premier matchups, no doubt.
Right.
But at least you have a track record against that guy. At
You
least you know
do.
what the slider looks like. You know where the
Right.
arm slot is. You know if there's any deception in the
Doesn't mean
delivery.
you can hit it, but
That's right. But we've seen it many times that the young guys they have a tough time against. And listen, this isn't just an Astros thing. This you go to
Right.
any veteran lineup in Major League Baseball, you're just so reliant on the experience you've had with that pitcher. And if you haven't
Right.
had any, it can be a tough day.
Yeah, certainly that was a struggle. It doesn't really obviously doesn't explain away the rest of the weekend and and then of course what happened yesterday. Um, I'm listen, I'm confounded by the hitting. We've seen some guys go through some slumps at different times this year,
Hmm.
but it's particularly confounding when like you look around yourself. Carlos Correa is hitting pretty well, right? He's doing pretty well. Jeremy Pena is
Not a whole
still
lot of
hitting
power.
pretty well.
Yeah,
Um,
not a
Jose
whole lot of power.
Altuve continues to hit, but the thing about there's so many guys this year hitting the ball on the ground, and I think that's the thing that has been I think the most kind of surprising to me is they're just nobody's driving anything.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting this soft contact on the ground kind of stuff, and that doesn't do well in the major leagues.
So I have a story here. So
Yes.
I
Let's
went a
hear it.
couple weeks ago to what I think 2 weekends ago. We had Old Timers Day in New York, and we were
Yes.
celebrating the 2000 World Series team. That was the third year of the dynasty, um, and it just had a great time. Well, one of the guys that was on that team that was there was Clay Bellinger. Yes,
Oh,
Cody Bellinger's
cool.
father.
Yep.
And we're sitting there, and we're hanging out, we're having dinner the night before, and I finally just asked him. I said, "Listen, what, what adjustments did Cody make from the 2 or 2.5 previous years that
Yeah.
he was so bad when he was in LA,
Right.
coming off of an MVP."
Right.
And he goes, "Well, the first thing was he was never really healthy. I don't know if you remember in a celebration, I think it was against the Rangers.
Yes.
They did a high,
Yeah. I
forearm
remember
bump.
reading
Well,
about
that
that.
hurt his shoulder like severely.
Mm-mm.
And, that it just never, he could never get in front of it for a long time. Had a couple bad seasons. LA lets him go. He goes to Chicago, and now he's a dude again. But he also said something interesting. He goes, "Dad, if you just go back to early in my career, my MVP year," he goes, "I saw 62% fastballs that year."
Hmm.
He goes, "Dad, I'm around 40 now." And he
Right.
said, "There is no such thing as a fastball count. 2-0, you get sliders.
Right.
3-1, you may get a changeup. You can't just sit on pitches because pitchers really don't mind, walking guys as
Right.
much as they used to."
That's
And
correct.
and he goes, it's just not the same as hitting just 5 or 6 years ago, much less, a decade or more. And I
Right.
thought that was an interesting answer to that question. That it's just different. We saw, was it? It's got to be 3 or 4 years ago now that we saw for the first time in Major League Baseball history that there were more off-speed pitches
Right.
thrown than fastballs. Now
Right.
everyone harps on the velocity, and the velocity is part of it,
Right.
but it is not everything. What it is now is spin the ball.
Right.
I don't. It doesn't matter how hard you throw if you can throw off-speed pitches inside the zone and outside the zone, and off-speed changeups, splits, curves, sliders, doesn't matter. If you can
Right.
spin the ball, then then you can be successful
Yeah.
because hitters hit fastballs. Doesn't matter how. There's an old saying that goes back to the '70s, maybe before that. You know, if you could shoot a baseball out of a howitzer, that if you see it enough times, big league hitters could probably end up squaring it up. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but
Right.
really what it means is it doesn't matter how hard these dudes throw. If they
Right.
throw nothing but fastballs, they will get hit.
Yeah, it's a really interesting observation, and I think you're right. You're spot on right about. And I'm going to be very curious at the end of the season to look at the metrics because I do think teams are the walk forever has been just a something nobody wanted, even in the
Yeah,
era of analytics. Defenses, you don't want a guy on base, right? That's just when the guys are on
right.
base, it's bad news. That seems to have changed a little bit now, where guys are like, you know what? If we give up a walk, we give up a walk. Better than a home run.
Keep making well, it's the pitching version of the three true outcomes for the hitter.
Right.
The three true outcomes of the hitter are the home run, the
Hmm.
strikeout, and the walk.
Hmm.
Is that right?
I think that's right.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
You got it
No,
right.
you notice nobody says anything about putting the ball in play. Nobody says
No.
anything about base hits. It's home runs. And
Right.
so the pitching version of it is we want strikeouts, we want swing and miss. And, I mean, I know my generation, even maybe generation after that, before this prior to this generation they're going through now, is
Hmm.
that um, there used to be a stat, and I'm going to obviously tell you so I remember the stat. I
Right.
don't know what year it was, and I don't know if the stat was true. It might have been a pitching
Yeah.
coach somewhere just making it up. But 70% of leadoff walks score, and leadoff base hits don't score at the same rate. Well, I don't think they go by that anymore. It's
I don't
like, you
think
know
so.
what? Well, we saw Aaron Getty last night, even though he didn't pitch very well.
Hmm.
Bases loaded, nobody out, and gets a big strikeout
Yep.
and then a double play, and
Right.
gets out, pulls a MacGyver Houdini and gets out of that particular situation. Now he ends up, I think, the next inning or 2 innings later, gives up a 3-run jack. But
Right. Well,
it's
walks are
just one of
his.
the yeah.
It's his
Well,
problem right now. His
his is
control.
really command,
Yeah, he's not
you know.
commanding the ball right now.
And
He's in
he,
spring
you
training,
know
they
what?
say.
Actually, to tell you the truth, you're right. It was his is actually control.
Hmm.
He has tough times throwing strikes sometimes.
Hmm.
Command is actually putting the ball where he wants to.
Right. I think you're.
There was a hitter early in the game
Mhm.
that actually it was the one that led to that bases loaded situation. I think it was a walk hit by pitch,
Right.
and the hit by pitch was on an 0-2 pitch. He tried
Right.
to throw a breaking ball down and in and hit some a left-handed hitter in the back leg.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so the pitch was in the area he wanted it to, but obviously he didn't want to hit him, especially not 0-2.
Yeah, I think you're right though about the walks. Again, I'm going to be really interested after the season to kind of see the metrics on that, because it really does feel like there is a sense of, you know, um, if we put a guy on, that's fine. Better that than giving, because I know that the mantra with hitting is put the bat on the baseball and good things happen, right?
Yeah,
Better to put the ball in play, because anything can
right.
happen at that point. You could get a base hit, you get a home run, you could just have an error,
That's
right?
right.
There's so many things that can
Yeah,
go
it
right
doesn't
for
happen a
you as a
whole
hitter.
lot, but
Right.
yes, I mean, and there's something to be said about that.
Yeah,
That
for sure.
putting and listen, I think we have a few players in the league. Khan, Stephen
Hmm.
Khan, I think his name is.
Yep.
I
Stephen
mean,
Kwan.
true, just contact
Contact
hitters,
hitters. Yep.
not trying to drive the ball fast, put the ball in play. There are some players like that, and I keep, maybe it's my own wishful thinking. I keep thinking that we are having a little bit of a renaissance going back in history to a
Yeah.
little bit more contact. Pitchers getting in more pitchability and not just about the velocity of the fastball. Because to tell you the truth, yeah, we have plenty of guys in the big leagues that throw very, very hard. But if you
Hmm.
want the hardest throwers, they're in the minor leagues.
Right.
You know,
Well,
those are the
yes.
guys that now they don't know where they were going. They don't know where they're going. But
Right.
did you see who was? It was a Seattle player that was on rehab. Did you see the
Oh,
clip of
throwing
him
the
getting hit
bat.
5 times? He got hit
Oh,
5 times.
that's
He got hit
insane.
like 2 or 3 times by the same guy.
It's just
And the funny thing was the last one, and you can understand why, is the fifth time he's gotten hit in just a couple days. And the
yeah.
crazy thing is he almost swung at all of them. And the last one he's a right-handed hitter. The ball hit him right here.
That
So
is
he actually had made the
crazy.
rotation and was in the
Yeah.
process of swinging, and he wore a fastball in
I
the
mean, it's
chest.
just, yeah, like you said, in the minor leagues, they're all throwing heat, but they don't know where they're throwing.
Right.
You're right. Stephen Kwan's a good example. That guy can hit anything, and
Yeah.
he's a definitely a throwback to that. I wonder, when we
See
talk
that?
about
I'm
the.
sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
Mhm. No,
The
sure.
Astros had one that I thought the Astros should have kind of cultured that, fed that a little bit more. The center fielder, I just had him. He went to Cleveland. fast guy.
Oh, yes.
Has actually
Why?
played. Yeah. Okay. We'll
Yeah,
think
he's
of it
played
here in a
pretty
minute.
good defensively. Really,
Yes.
really good defensive
Yeah.
player. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Contact hitter.
The
Yeah,
offense gonna
yeah,
bug me.
it's
Keep going.
yeah, I
I'm
know. Yeah,
listening.
no. I think it's really a fascinating sort of development in baseball. I don't know how much they'll use it. Again, you want like uh, teams will tell you that they want the crooked number, right?
Yes.
They want the crooked number because it just once you put pressure on another team, with and again, one of the things the Astros have gotten away from in this is putting
Miles
pressure
Straw.
on other team.
Yes.
Straw,
I will be
yes,
able to
thank
sleep
you.
tonight.
Nice. Yeah, they just don't like, I've wondered it like they don't put as many pitches on guys as they have in the past. That's just not that was always a strength of
Well,
the Astros too.
yes, getting ahead, that kind of thing, and you don't have to get ahead with the fastball. I mean,
No,
this really started with Brent Strom.
right,
With the ability of throwing north and south, and not just east and west, and
right,
and spinning and spinning and spinning the ball.
right,
But and this is a copycat league, so everyone has done that. I think one of the issues that the Astros pitchers have had now is you still got to be able to put the ball in the strike zone when you want to.
right.
And some of these guys, especially the younger guys,
You know,
Fromber doesn't have a problem with that. Hunter doesn't have a problem. Those are the top of the rotation guys.
Javier
But
hasn't had a
Eric,
problem with it coming back, except he
right?
was sick. But
Yeah, but you look at Arrighetti, and that's one of the issues. He's got really
mhm,
good stuff. Now he doesn't have the blazing fastball, but he's got the low 3/4 arm slot. The ball's moving all over the place.
mhm.
Well, that's great if you can control it, but sometimes
it's
it's hard to
likely
control.
it's likely why he wouldn't be one of the top three starters to start the postseason. It'll be Javier for sure because of his ability to command the strike zone.
Yeah, and pedigree.
Even
I mean,
yeah,
he's done it before.
certainly
He's got if he does have a heartbeat, is about as slow as you can
El
possibly
Reptile.
get. That's right.
That's unbelievable. Well, the good news on the hitting front is that we have a Jordan Alvarez sighting.
Hmm.
And I want to be cautious about this, as you and I have discussed many times. Like until he's wearing an Astros jersey on the
Yes.
field, swinging a bat in the batter's box during an actual game, I'm not going to say Jordan is back. But the very fact that he's there, and it looks like he's going to be fast tracked in his rehab. He's not going to, have a bunch of games in the
Yeah.
minors. It says really that he's basically healthy and ready to come back. And it could not have come at a better time. It gives him a full 6 weeks to get himself back into
Right.
baseball shape. Now he doesn't have to play anything. All he has to do is swing the bat. So at least he doesn't, he's not gonna have to play
Yeah.
defense. So that's a good thing. And then also Jake Myers has been running. And when you have a calf injury, that says, all right, he's getting healthier.
That's obviously the last thing that comes.
Right. So as
It's the
soon as
running.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it does feel like we're going to get back a couple. And listen, Jordan aside, Jake Myers was one of the best hitters on the team when he got
Sure.
hurt. So if you bring these two guys back in the lineup and start to balance that lineup a little bit more, it's going to make a huge difference. Like right now,
Yeah.
they would, I'm sure they would love to sit Jesus Sanchez, right? Because he's just not hitting the ball well. But defensively, he's been fantastic, right?
Robbing 2 home
And
runs. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so you can't really pull him out because you don't really have a whole lot of options there.
Right.
So this just gives them options that they wouldn't have had before. And getting Jordan back is, man,
Well, I
that's
think
that,
Jordan is as good as Jake was early in the season. Where was he doing all of his hitting? In the bottom of the lineup, which is fine.
right.
You need hitters down there
Yep.
also, but Jordan is one of those special, career type hitters that make everyone around him better, whether he's hitting or not. Now,
Right.
the only problem with him, DHing exclusively is he's always been a better hitter when he's played in the field.
Right.
Now he's gotten that gap has closed.
Hmm.
It's not as big as it used to be, but he still considers himself a baseball player, not just a hitter. So, but you know what? Just getting him back in the lineup, getting him getting you know out of Florida and actually getting on the ball, getting in front of fans in AAA. I'm thinking it's probably going to be about 3 games
Yeah. Sounds
He
about
did,
right.
he did this before that he didn't have any rehab at all and just went off at the beginning of a season.
Right.
You know, so
We'll
he
see.
has the ability to do it, and that's just because he's an incredible raw hitter.
Right.
But you want to make sure that hand is good. And here's the big thing: you want to see him take a couple big swings,
Right.
and then, of course, at this point, he probably is not going to react. But the key is going to be how he feels about it tomorrow.
That's
Did that
it.
make him sore? And
Yeah.
that's where the couple games come in.
Right. I think that's the big thing is, and also when he gets up here, listen, uh, they probably won't put him in left field, but if they did for a game, especially at Minute Maid Park, that would free up the
Oh,
DH spot for Jose Altuve.
put a dollar in
Oh,
the jar.
Dyken Park. Pardon
Dyken
me.
Park. Yeah,
Pardon me. But
yeah.
if they put him in left
Problem with being
field,
live.
yeah, I know. And I'll tell you too, when you look at it, getting, the one thing that has really helped is that the Astros now have enough versatility in the field that they've been able to rotate some guys around. They can
It's
give
how this
Jose
roster
Altuve a
has
day
been
off.
put together.
Yeah,
I mean,
they've
this
really
is
done, especially with Ramon Urias being able to play such a
right.
good second base. It
Yeah,
really has made a big difference in at least that. Once they get some of these guys back, then it really you'll start to really see the flexibility of this team, and hopefully that will make a big
yeah,
difference.
and this is how the roster was put together. I mean, this is not
Hmm.
by chance. This was how they wanted interchangeable parts. And
Right.
here's the thing: as big of a boost as it's going to be when Jordan, notice I said when Jordan does get
Right.
back in the lineup, the last thing you want to do is for him to go back down. And
Yeah.
because then, as excited as you are when he gets back in the lineup, you're going to be that much more upset if he ever has to come back out again. And the way this team has been, teetering back and forth,
Yeah.
you really can't afford to have another big blow at this point in the season.
No, you can't. And we should talk about this too, since we're talking about blows. I'm trying to figure out what they're going to do with the bullpen, because right now, like it's sure, losing Josh Hader sucks. It's a
Sure.
problem, but the bigger problem to me is they really are starting to show the strain of the depth of the bullpen.
Right.
Now, I listen, Stephen Okert has been excellent. He continues to be. Bennett Sousa had one kind of hiccup, but overall he's been solid. Brian King seems to be rounding back into the
Mhm.
form that he had earlier in the year. And then obviously Abreu is spectacular and continues to be. But Sean Dubin has been a disaster since he came back up from the minors. Um, you know, there's not a lot of great options there, and there are not a lot of guys there with options. So you're really starting to look at,
Yeah.
like, Dubin doesn't have any options left. So they can't just send him back down. They'd have to put him on waivers. But I mean,
So
what do you do?
here's where the issue comes in. In
Hmm.
this day and age, where the likelihood of a starting pitcher going deep in a game is getting less and less and less,
Right.
that's where the heavy lifting is going to have to be done.
Right.
Okay, you're going to have to limit the number of outs that the bullpen has to cover. And that's where Josh Hader, well, you lost the closer. Yes, but no, what you did was you lost 3 outs.
Right.
Now you have to
That's right.
cover 3 outs with somebody else. And that's where the depth issue comes in. So I think, especially when you have Hunter or you have Fromber, if Javier is healthy again and you may try and get an extra out or two out of these guys.
Yep.
When if this was last year or your bullpen was healthy, you'd have pulled them.
Right.
And this is where the tough decisions have to be made because more times than not the game is decided there in like the sixth or seventh inning. It's
Yes,
not the ninth inning,
for sure.
and it's where the starting pitcher has gotten into trouble. um,
Third time through the lineup.
yeah, whenever it may be, the starting pitcher has gotten into trouble, and now you have to
Yep.
bring in one of those middle relief guys. When in reality, that's the ball game right there.
Right.
That's when you need to use your leverage guys. But with the injury to Hader, all your leverage guys had to be moved back in the game.
Right. It's a problem. Now, it does bring up the question of will they make a decision to move some of their potential starters into long relief role? I could see them considering that with some guys,
Yeah.
but they're going to have to be cautious about that. I've seen lots of discussions about like, well, shouldn't Lance McCullers come out of the bullpen? Lance McCullers is not going to come out of the bullpen, no matter what people want. That's just not going to happen. And
Yeah, and one of the issues, it's not just about stuff is fine. I mean, we've seen him
mhm,
come out of the bullpen. The problem is, can he pitch? If you're going to be a reliever, you need to pitch 3 days a week. You
right,
need to have the ability to pitch 3 days a week. Now, if you go back a couple generations, that's 4, maybe 5 days a week.
right,
But now you have to be able to throw 3 days a week,
right.
and I don't think Lance is going to be able to do that.
I think you're right.
That's so if you have the bullpen designed the right way, okay, you go back to the Yankees. We're talking about the 2000 team, the way
Mhm,
those bullpen. Well, obviously we had the best closer in history of the game, buttoning down the ninth inning.
right,
But all the rest of us, there was a combination of short relief,
right.
high appearance, low pitch count guys like myself and Jeff Nelson, but you had other guys in the bullpen like Ramiro Mendoza, who he couldn't really go back to back days. So when you put him out there, you got multiple innings out of him. But you had a combination of both, and now
Yeah.
you were able to cover. You were able to cover the outs that needed to be covered on a daily basis. Um, but the other side of that is, starting pitchers back then went a little bit deeper. There weren't as many outs
Yeah.
that bullpens had to cover. And that's a problem now because now you're looking at, I mean, you
Totally.
get 6 innings out of a starting pitcher. Now you're pretty ecstatic but
Yeah.
you're still looking at 9 outs that have to be covered at the end of the game.
I just keep thinking too, as well as he's pitched, I've got to think that, piggybacking Jason Alexander is gonna have to be an option for them at some point. He's pitched so well and so consistently well that once you get guys back there,
Piggybacking meaning bringing him in after
right?
someone else.
Yeah, like it's getting 3 or 4 innings out of him and 3 or 4 innings out of someone else instead of trying to stretch them out to 6, because they basically need middle relief is what they need.
Well,
That's where the
here's the
biggest
problem
problem.
is, this is still a very tough. What I think it's still a game and a half because
Yeah,
the
I mean,
Astros haven't played well. The Mariners, after going, what was it, 9-1,
yeah.
just
Speaking
like
of,
a week and a half ago.
the Mariners keep losing, man.
There it is. There it is. Now they've kind of cooled back off. Um, but the problem is you
Yeah.
probably need you need him in the rotation.
Well,
Not
they're going.
just as a piggyback guy. Maybe you do it the other way around, at least at the beginning, because
Yeah.
he has been so good, especially
Yeah.
his last what 7,
5
8
games?
starts. Yeah,
Yeah, 6 games, something like
yeah,
that.
something like
I
that.
I just feel like with what's left on the schedule, especially given the sort of, it's not murderer's row.
Right.
You've got to win better than 50% of their remaining games. Like, I think that's basically where the Astros are at. They have to be better than 500. They don't have to be 650 or anything like that. They could be one game over 500. It probably will be enough to get them the division, but they can't lose series on the regular.
Yeah.
They've got to win 2 out of 3 series going forward in order to basically make the math. And that's assuming Seattle doesn't go on another run. Now, right now, they're
Right.
struggling all over the place. They have all
Yeah.
sorts of issues that they're
It's the
dealing
problem
with.
about that's the problem with streaks.
Yeah,
Streaks
and
end and you get hot, and that's all fine and good. But
man,
the highs are great, but how low are the lows?
baseball is brutal.
It
For
is.
that, out of more than any other sport, it is brutal because of how long it is, how
Yeah.
long the season is, how complicated it gets to sort of juggle these lineups. I saw that earlier, like, I don't know, it was a couple of weeks ago. They said the Astros had thrown out, I forget how many different starting lineups, something
Hmm.
like 100 during the season or
Yeah.
something. Like, it's a
Actually,
crazy number, and when that's happening, I mean, there's a point where things are going to break, and not necessarily break your direction.
yeah,
They're going to break bad for you at some point.
no
And so
doubt, no doubt.
So I
And
just think they've just got to tread water here and keep pace against the Mariners. I still think they're going to win the division, and I still think they have the potential to be pretty good once they get to the postseason, just simply because of all the guys they're getting back and the time that they're having opportunity for them to pitch. I'm very interested to see what happens when Luis Garcia gets back. That is a
yeah,
guy who has
see,
pitched.
he's the guy that I think you really put
Yeah, he
the
could be another
emphasis
one.
on, because what you would really like him to be, if he can, and we've seen this in his minor league starts, he has
Yes,
the ability to spin the ball, always
hey, it
has.
really does.
And that's been the biggest key to his success, and he's done that in the minor leagues. I mean,
I've got.
we've
I'm.
seen the higher
Yeah,
strikeouts. He's throwing strikes, something
that's the
he's
thing.
always done.
And you just hit on it. It's not just that he's spinning the ball well, which he is, like you said, he always done. He is throwing strikes. And like in his last couple of outings, I think he's had 3 walks in like the last 4 outings he's
Yeah,
had. He is putting the ball in the strike zone. And the Astros need that because it's a counterbalance to Spencer Arrighetti, who struggles right now with his command. And that's kind
right.
of the deal.
And we were just talking about how you may have to try and get extra outs from your
Yeah,
starting pitchers. That's where it's going to be. Is that
I agree.
that pitch count doesn't get too terribly high,
Yeah.
and you're able to keep the pitch count low, and then you have the ability to possibly get an extra out.
Yeah. It's going to be a struggle down the stretch. There's no question about it. But I
Okay,
mean,
I was trying to pull up
how
Astros notes.
number of lineups? Yeah,
Yeah.
I forget what it was, but I saw it a couple of weeks ago. It was crazy. I mean, it's been a weird year, man. I mean, it's I will say I'll say this before we close it up. I said at the beginning of the year that I thought this was most likely going to be a transitional
Transition
season for
years.
the
Yep.
Astros. I didn't really know exactly. I thought the makeup of this was going to be quite different than what it is. And so if I went back to myself 6 months ago and was like,
Hmm.
"Hey, Jeff, um, the Astros are going to be ahead of the in the AL West. They're going to be pretty good. Their pitching has been solid. Their hitting has not been great. Here's where they are. Here's all the injuries that have occurred during the course of the season, and here's where they are heading to the postseason." I think I'd probably be pretty delighted with it, and frankly, pretty surprised by it. And so, it's that's a kind of perspective that's hard to keep when it's this long of a season.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it really shows how hard they. I mean, you and I can say transition time, and where is the organization going, and those, maybe those are stories for a different time,
Right.
conversations for a different time. But heck, it's what are you doing when you're on the field? You're trying to win baseball games, and
That's
that's
it.
where Joe Espada and company are coming up. So this, I found it. This was Sunday's notes, so the
Okay.
17th, just a couple days
Yeah,
ago.
a couple days ago.
Game number 124.
Hmm.
They have used 117 different batting orders. So it just
Unbelievable.
shows, man, they are working hard trying to figure this thing out. And
Yeah.
what does this team look like in the postseason? Well,
We'll
we'll approach
cross
that a little bit
cross
later.
that bridge when we
Let's
get
let's see
to
if we can
it.
get them
Let's
there
get
first.
see if we can get everybody on the field healthy and
Right.
actually win the division. Then we can figure it
You're
out.
done. You're
Yeah,
done. You're
exactly.
done.
Listen, when he comes back, it's gonna be a moment. It's gonna be like it's
Oh,
funny
it's
how
going to
this
be the
season has.
team. Well,
Yeah.
we talked about it at the trade deadline,
Oh,
and
exactly. Carlos getting here. It's just so weird
but
how.
and it's just one of those things that it doesn't really even matter. It does matter because it's Jordan,
Hmm.
but just the euphoria that you get in the clubhouse and on the bench, and you go, okay, now we're ready to go. And
Right.
that ultimate high is can what leads you into another winning streak, or
Agreed.
leads you into winning a few series in a row, and now all of a sudden you're in good shape. That's why I said,
Yeah.
once he comes back, he can't. If he goes back down, man, that
Mm-mm.
might be the exact opposite, would be the nail in the coffin
Let's just
of
let's
them
just
just completely
let's
falling apart. Because
say
I mean,
I
if you
don't.
look at this objectively, you could say that in a way this kind of has been a kind of a house of cards, you
It
know
has been. I mean, but the thing is that it feels that way in a lot of baseball. Like there hasn't
Oh,
been.
sure,
I mean, really,
sure.
there have only been a couple. I mean, the Brewers of anybody
Oh,
have suddenly
Dodgers,
have
House
in
of
the
Cards.
yeah. I mean, when you
Phillies,
look
House of Cards. Mets, House of
yeah.
Cards. Yeah,
I mean, yes, the Mets in particular, Yankees
yeah.
have been that way. I
Oh,
mean, there's been so
Yankees.
many. The Padres who are suddenly flying high and then just get smoked by the Dodgers over the weekend. I mean,
Hmm.
it is a weird season in that
Yep.
there's really nobody out there running away
Actually,
with
it's fun
anything.
because now
Yeah, no, totally.
we're going into the postseason going, we don't know who's going to win it. I mean,
Yeah, there's a lot.
there's not an odds on favorite because it's
Mm-mm.
so what are you really looking for? You get into the big dance. From
That's right.
there, get hot. You
That's
get
it.
hot, you got a chance.
That's it. All right, come back, Jordan. We miss you. Thanks everybody for joining us. We will come back with you next time, and hopefully at that point we'll have even more good news to talk about.
Right.
Hopefully Spencer Arrighetti can find the strike zone, and Jordan Alvarez can find the field. These are all things we're
And
hopeful
Christian
for.
Javier is done with his sickness.
Yeah, that I heard from somebody that there has been a
A bug.
clubhouse
Yes.
bug that has been going
Happens.
around.
Oh, it happens
I
all the
know
time.
that's commonplace. It happens in everybody. You always hear that in the middle of a season. Say everybody's got the flu or something. It's like
That's
so.
right. I mean, you've
Yeah,
heard it in
I'm.
spring training there's been teams that have canceled exhibition
Yes.
games because they don't have enough dudes to put on the field.
Good lord. You got to stay healthy out there,
That's
people.
it.
That's all I'm
That's it.
asking. Okay, thanks again for joining us. We will talk to you next time. As always, go Astros.
Adios.